Policy and Governance meeting to order. And the first order of business for the board tonight is to elect a committee chair. So do we have any nominations for a chair?
I nominate Lisa.
Charlie, do you want to be chair?
Do you accept the nomination?
Fine. Fine.
One nomination of Lisa. Any other nominations? All right, all in favor of Lisa Williams serving as chair of Policy and Governance Committee?
Aye.
Nay.
All right, passes 2-1. All right, Lisa, you can
All right,
take control.
thanks. You're doing a really good job though, so. So our next order of business is to approve the minutes from October 22nd, 2024, which was our last meeting. Is there a motion?
Of the minutes for October 22nd meeting be approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. All right, that passes. And so we have policy review and we're gonna kick it off with our 400 series policy. Case, do you want me to turn it over to you?
Sure. Good evening. We are on the 400s this evening, and I'm actually gonna let Nick do the heavy lifting on this one, and then I'll come back and talk about the policy primers and the board director member development policy. But Nick.
All right, thank you very much. You'll notice if you've looked at these or if you are perusing them now, there's a number of them that are highlighted. A lot of it's just procedural changes, simple things, nothing of great substance. It's more of just updating language, updating names or updating positions. There are two I'd want to draw your attention to. One is on PDF page 24. It's and hopefully if you've clicked on it correctly, we've been having some troubles with this one back and forth. This is the employee use of cell phones 401.12. We were trying to mirror some of the language. We had worked with Brady on this, trying to mirror some of the language of students. We had also recommending taking out the beginning part of the previous policy just because of concerns related to last year's OSHA investigation, because if you're saying that something is related to safety or something that could provide safety, then OSHA's expectation is that you're helping pay for those things. Like, so we want to just be mindful of that within our policy. Otherwise, we were just trying to mirror what it said for students related to instructional time, and then giving some caveat there other than authorized by the administrator for educational purposes. And that was something that, you know, Brady had brought up as a important piece for some teachers at times. The other one that I'd want to draw your attention to is a new edition, which is on PDF page 29. It's a new policy related to 401.17, notification of arrest, criminal charges, or abuse complaints. We had reached out to get a proposed policy related to this. There's two parts to this. One, we felt like we need to have something in place for people to be able to notify us if they do get in trouble, like we didn't have anything in policy related to this. Secondly, the state of Iowa has a law in place that says we have to notify if one of our employees is charged with a felony, not if they are guilty of it, but they're just charged with it. So we just need to have something in policy, so that way we're asking our employees to communicate this. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes we find out secondhand, but we want to give people the opportunity to tell us in the first place. So that's why we'd like to include this as well. Those are the two, I think, more significant changes within our 400. Any questions or?
A question about 401.17.
Yes.
So the sentence, the second sentence, in the event that employees experience any arrests, the filing of criminal charges, or the filing of charges related to, and then some specific, it seems like that last part is superfluous. Like, if they're supposed to tell us about any charges, why are we calling out specifically OWI and child abuse? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of redundant, so you can't say the same thing.
Or it makes it seem like we're not serious about any like that they have to tell us about any charges, that the policy seems like, oh, well, but really you only have to tell us about these charges, which I don't think I could see that maybe we don't need to know about all charges, but certainly every felony, I think we should, you know, like, what if one of our employees gets charged with murder? Like, we will want to know that.
Yes.
And so there seems like there's a universe beyond just OWI, child abuse, domestic violence that we also want to know about. So I don't know.
Is there any reason we need it called out, or that we couldn't stop at filing of any criminal charges?
Well, I mean, technically. Stretching my knowledge here a little bit, but right. With operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, you might not get charged criminally. But depending on what you do, you might still lose your license with the state. Isn't there?
I think if you refuse the breathalyzer. They may not have enough to charge you criminally, but you automatically lose your license for 6 months. There's an administrative penalty by refusing.
So
But I
thought you
don't
were gonna
think
say criminal versus civil. So can you get a civil charge in any of these?
or administrative charge, right? Now I don't think that's clear enough. I mean, I think, but. We
Civil
could
suit.
because I'm just trying to think of also. People hear what they want to hear sometimes. So, we've had a lot of people apply for jobs and say, well, the police told me I didn't need to report that, or I didn't need to list that. And sometimes it usually has to do with things like DUIs or other operating offenses, and so it doesn't really bother me that we're calling out specifically simply because of the
Past history.
Well, I wonder then if we should say the filing of any civil or criminal charges, because I also, now that you said that, maybe there's child endangerment charges that could be not criminal, but maybe there's a.
We did get this from
Yeah,
all
we
of
got
this.
this language from all of
Mhm.
it, so that's my assumption. Is that
Yeah, I had reached out to them for
Yeah.
some sample policy.
Maybe we should talk to, I mean, because if we are, we should say that.
Sure.
Yeah.
OWI, I think is important. That one. I mean, I get where
Yeah.
you're saying, I agree, but that is probably half the
Yeah.
most.
That was the reason I'd like to see that specifically is just so people realize, oh, that's something I need to
Yeah.
share about.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people don't treat that as significant as it actually is, and then we don't hear about it.
Well, then maybe it's including but not limited to OWI, domestic, like.
Oh,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
If we added civil, then we should probably change the thing too.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, up at the top.
Yeah.
Yep. So we can do that.
So it's- I think you're-
They'll just do a reading tonight.
Yeah,
So we
there's
can get
just
an
a reading.
update, we'll just do a reading in the book.
Perfect.
So this provision emphasizes charges. Are we not also interested in community arrest?
It says any arrest.
Yeah.
Employees experiencing any arrest, the filing charges, we were kind of. Conversing on the charges part, but right ahead of that says experience any arrests.
Someone files. Has someone filed a civil suit against one of our employees? Even if it was later found to be frivolous or
So we're saying they must notify.
they must notify. Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're gonna do anything.
We'd have to take the action.
Well, do we want to get notified when our employees get divorced?
Of course, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I don't
Like
think we
that's-
do.
Yeah, that's.
Like,
yeah,
that's,
you're right.
I think it's the. but not-
Yeah, that's what I'm at too. Yeah, it's civil, all of a sudden now we got a
Yeah.
whole world.
yeah. Or car accident, like,
Yeah, oh, exactly.
All the civil litigation.
We don't need to know that. I mean, the purpose of this is really just to know, I mean, the things that. I think we're hoping for is just knowing when, if an employee. I've used the example, like. If one of our night custodians was pulled over for. An OWI, we don't really have many interactions with those individuals, we would have no idea. Now, it's not saying we would necessarily do anything. But being aware is important because a lot of times it's more prevalent with some of our other positions where. We are public facing, and if it's in the police blotter, it's gonna cause some noise, it's gonna cause some difficulties for us to work through, so.
I wonder if we would just ask the question, because there would be some civil suits we want to know about. I know
I
the
agree.
continuum's long, but I wonder if we just ask Alan
Yeah.
if there's any language we want to incorporate, because. You weren't criminally charged, but you did have a civil suit or something significant, so we might.
I don't even look at that.
things that he wants to
Yeah.
do.
yeah.
You can charge it murder, but.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so I wonder if like, it's like we're a civil suit involving, and then, allegations of, and then
Right.
tie it to like
Mm.
children.
Oh.
Like child abuse or like, it's something, something that nexus it a little bit to what we're doing, because again. I mean, I think there is some sort of privacy concern, right? Like, we don't need to get into our employees' business about any,
Right.
again, like their divorce.
Yes.
Although I wonder if the divorce includes allegations of child abuse
Yeah.
and their teacher.
But then you cover it through the child abuse part.
Well,
Like
but
you
not
said.
if they're ever not charged with child abuse.
But like if you said the civil suit, any civil suits including.
Yeah, well, yeah,
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 to your language earlier.
or actions that endanger the safety, health, safety, welfare of. Children or maybe just individuals, like, cause that to me is an
Yeah.
OWI, right? And that's what we're concerned about is you're making decisions that are.
Mhm.
Dangerous, and we don't want dangerous people. Educating our kids.
I would just think there's probably some sort of situation where you're talking about it's impeding their ability to do their job, or it's gonna impact their ability to do their job. I don't know exactly how we'd want, we have other policies as we read through this that talks about like. If you've done this, then it's gonna influence your ability to effectively do your position, or it's gonna tarnish your. You know, whatever professional,
Reputation.
yeah, your reputation there.
Well, we can ask for some language around it.
Yep.
And see if you guys are good with it.
Any other questions from the 400s?
Yeah, question, but not on the committees, but 403.7 is employee vaccination testing for COVID.
Oh, yeah, that was on my list too, so it's not done fun.
So what, like, do we need to have it, like, you have to wear a mask all the time?
Those are the ones that we kept in case it would ever come back in, but there's a sentence at the last part of it that says,
Oh. All right.
Well, and I was curious why we're getting rid of the Hep B vaccine. Why that's all struck through but nothing changed with COVID vaccine. I didn't know if that was legal guidance. And Hep B was 403.3E1. Because when I read through and saw all of that removed, my first thought was, oh, I bet we're changing our COVID policy also. And then I got to COVID and then there were no changes.
I don't know if you heard what, you guys heard what Kim said, but there's kind of that last statement in there that covers.
That
If we'd
it's
be
not
able-
gonna be in effect.
Right, yeah, when it would be in effect or not.
OSHA's.
do we not require FP?
What was the Hep B one?
403.
Well, I don't think we want to get too far away from that code line, but. Like, I don't know what the status is, so the fact that we have that in there. I think it needs to go. Quite honestly.
The COVID one?
Good section.
It's page
3.7. I mean,
And there's a very.
one.
like, I don't know that we're keeping up on whether OSHA is permitted by law to enforce the
Right.
temporary emergency standard or not, because the way.
The Hep B?
Yeah.
This is what I got from Jessica.
They're allowed
There's a
to,
little note.
anybody
up in the
not
corner.
vaccinated has to wear a mask by this policy,
Right.
right? They test every 7 days. I don't think we're.
We just get rid of the form.
Or want to.
I don't think we even need the form. She said delete it all because it's all.
Right.
It's just recommended that,
Mhm.
that's why it's on.
I know we put that line in there because we were still concerned about it at the time. And we weren't sure how long lasting that part. was.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at those again, because there's some following regulations there too, and there's something about a vaccination. record.
Mhm.
I think there's probably some concerning ones in there we might consider wanting to pull.
It makes more sense to me that we would pull and get rid of it, and then if we need it in the
Bring it
future, bring it back.
And wasn't that related to the controversy from the state versus the feds on transportation? And it was some.
Yeah.
Wasn't that where that was, where we had the like federal guidance saying, yeah, you have to do it, and the state saying, no, you can't.
Right, state was saying no, but, or
Yeah, but some of the transportation stuff, the feds, the busing.
they were requiring it because that was their purview.
I think taking it out, putting it back if we ever feel like we need to, that's what nobody says.
Oh, I'm sorry, board meeting, what yours? Just. Yeah,
403.7. seven, and then there's this E1.
E1, E2,
E3,
E3,
We're removing all of those if they're in
R1,
currency.
All of 403.7.
yeah. Yeah, it's all.
Will that would remove any requirement or? Wait there. COVID vaccination.
We already can enforce that, I think those is the
Right.
point of it. And if, I don't know that we're gonna retroact to them. Start enforcing that.
Yeah, so we would remove those. We're not able to enforce what's stated in policy there. And I think Lisa's suggestion was if we got back to that type of place and we needed to reconsider that, then we bring it back to the table. Right now, they're really not applicable or enforceable.
I have just a couple of little, those that I can just.
perfect, yep.
Oh, what did we get rid of our drug and alcohol testing policy, or why are we going to get rid of? 406 or 403 dot all redlined out. Maybe, oh, sorry,
It's right,
55.
yeah, it's right. Right there. Right there.
We still have 403.6, Lisa, in front of it. That talks about our ability to do it,
Was this the one that we
subsequent
thought
one
was
is
just
the note,
redundant?
it's like a
It, well,
notice.
it
Is it
is,
like-
and they,
Repetition?
it is, they only have two drivers, the two refuse haulers are the only two that have the CDL, and they didn't use the forms, I think it was part of the hiring.
So it's getting stricter. The
It's
notification.
just the
Notification.
notice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Not the policy itself. We can still do it.
Where is it? They're noticed in the.
That was gonna be my next, I presume we're providing notice something.
Mhm.
No, I brought it for that, I meant the 400s, there's like,
There's a lot.
there's a lot.
Yeah, because isn't this the one, Kim, when we talked about it, it's a very small number of people that actually
It's
under.
two,
Fall under this, so it's just making sure that those individuals are notified that that could happen, I think is the case. So we're just trying to. And I don't know that we were using this particular notice, which was part of the reason we wanted to take. Page 55 and 56 out, but then leave in 53. For the first part, like Matt. noted.
so the question we can answer is just, for your certainty is where we're providing that notice to the
Yeah.
employees that are affected. My guess is, like they talked about over here, it's happening in the HR onboarding process or renewal of the contract.
Yeah, the tricky thing is, like, we recently, sometimes people who are employed with us already, who are just shifting jobs, so they don't necessarily have.
So making sure.
The
they
same
get that.
thing,
Yeah.
so then were they notified, if the new hire, it's part of the
Mhm.
onboarding, but
Yep.
more recently, it's been. Shifting roles, so is there,
I mean, like you guys
Is
said,
it
that
HR
unit of people
process?
can't be very big.
No,
Transport 16 or more persons, including the driver. School vehicle weighs 26,001 pounds.
yeah, the refuse haulers and some of the day subs, I
Because
think would be.
I think now that we form. Maybe. Do we have the people sign something? And that's what we have to find out, because
Yeah,
that's where, that's what, you know, the next section is 403.62 is they. We've explained to them that now it's on.
Yes. I can follow up on that, make sure we have that information.
You guys want to go back to the Hep B? Cross out, or did you answer that question about why that?
what does that say? Like, did you get that back to me?
I think I give back to you guys one Jess's comment on, I don't.
Funds were provided documentation of that long time ago.
And she said that it's addressed in the HR yearly online training.
Those addressed in training, but we don't ask for information regardless, I'm assuming it's before now. Yeah, I'm wondering where that recommendation's coming from, right? Is that the advice then of like what TV was an old one that used to have to prove
Mhm.
that we're gonna do that anymore?
Okay, 4.7. Which requires vaccination for COVID-19. Is that not in here? We're gonna take that out. Also,
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about taking out, Charlie, because we can't require that.
okay. I guess I haven't confused up. Which provisions apply to vaccination for COVID? Just 4.7.
And then all the ones that follow that, the rest of them, the 403.7 E1. E2. The through page. 64 on the PDF. As you're looking at it. And then we transition to religious accommodations.
Okay.
Interesting one.
I think we need to move on to policy primers because like we're just gonna blow gasket if we go more than like 4 more minutes.
Sure.
Well, the thing is, we have some questions to bring back to you on the 400s.
Yeah,
I would say also, give them another look. If you feel like there are questions that weren't addressed, please do email them through and we can speak to them at the readings at the board table. And if we have to pull them back to another committee meeting, we can certainly do that too.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
There's a lot.
all right, so policy primers.
So the policy time was really, just, I guess updated the titles with Eric stepping away from the organization. The state continues to refine or look at what they want, not the state. ISB continues to refine what they're putting around chronic absenteeism and truancy. The good news on this one, I think that ahead of the curve and the robustness of what we did last summer. And so really the only change we're recommending there is just from the word truancy to chronic absenteeism on one section on page 7. But everything else is pretty much just kind of record keeping type changes in this section. We feel like that our policies around chronic absenteeism are where they currently need to be.
I have any questions on that.
So policy 216.2 and 216.3 about board member development and training. We know that you all were looking at this last fall. There's a very extensive policy available from ISB, but Adam and his team are in the process of modernizing our travel procedures here in the district. And really, we're gonna start piloting here this spring with ESC and kind of work on some of the kinks before we come back with a 400 policy that'll basically mirror this 1 and the 200s. But since this was on the for the board to consider and something you were talking about, rather than trying to fill in all the little blanks, articulate those things, knowing where to come back, we figured we would just say that board members would use the same platform as the rest of the staff. It's really slick. It will do all the things that were in the policy about tracking what airfare is available, what type of accommodations, figures the per diem. I just get to say it's all Adam and his financial wizardry magic that made it work. But that's why you see a much more truncated version of it.
So the horse and carriage options are out. Or they are out.
The federal government owns a private jet.
I'm sure.
There's a private airline reimbursement mile rate.
Is that balance good?
Is it purposefully generic to just say?
So that if we
district's
change
platform?
platforms, we don't have to update the policy.
okey. Our next meeting then is January 20, nope. That's today. Our next meeting is not on Board Docs, but it should be February
25th, maybe?
25th.
Yep.
And I'm sure we will have the
500s.
500s, and then maybe we can look at the 400s again.
If we don't get it cleaned
changes.
up at the board table, by
Yeah.
then we can bring it back. here.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Anything else anybody wants to add to that meeting agenda? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,